To break all this down, let's bring in Ashley Pratte and Joel Payne in our Washington bureau. Ashley is a Republican strategist and director of media relations and public affairs at the American Legislative Exchange Council. And Joel is a Democratic strategist and was a senior campaign aide for Hillary Clinton in 2016. Welcome to you both. Joel, let me begin with you. Mixed messages from President Trump there. He says he believes torture works, but he'd trust his cabinet if they advise against it. What did you hear in that answer?
I heard the same thing you heard, Elaine. There are mixed messages. It seems like the president really disagrees with a lot of his cabinet appointees from some of the hearings that we've heard the last 2 weeks. I think the thing that should be truly concerning is that the president doesn't even have his own party on board. Rand Paul, John McCain have both aggressively disagreed with the president potentially bringing torture back. I know that the president doesn't respect John McCain's service, but you'd hope that he'd at least listen to his opinion. So that's been very concerning, and you certainly hope that the president starts to listen to some of the people around him who are telling him that this is a bad idea.
And Ashley, Republican congressional leaders were asked about Mr. Trump's comments on torture during their Philadelphia policy retreat. Here's Senator John Thune.
With respect to torture, that's banned. The Army Field Manual, it makes that very clear, and the law now is tied to the Army Field Manual. And so we view that to be a matter of settled law. So again, I'm not familiar exactly with what is coming out today, but is with regard to how most members of Congress perceive or view that, we've spoken on that.
So, Ashley, what position do you think President Trump is putting congressional Republicans in when he says he's open to bringing back forms of torture?
Well, look, Donald Trump is an unconventional Republican by every standard, and he has really defied all odds in some ways. And there has been disagreements with his policies from the very beginning, so that's not new. What is new here is the fact that Trump has said all along that his nominees that he was appointing could have their own opinions and that he would fully support them. So what we've heard from Mattis and what we've heard from Pompeo are that they don't support, bringing back interrogation tactics that would use, extreme measures and tortures and enhanced interrogation. And I think at this point, what we need to really realize is that Trump will adhere to things that they say. Yes, even in the final hours now, even as this has trickled out since that interview has been released, he has said that he has spoken with his advisors and that he would be willing to listen to them on it. So I really don't think there's much to worry about by way of that. I do think in the end he will end up listening to the people that he is nominating for these top positions.
Well, Ashley, let me ask you, we mentioned the Post article on some frustrations GOP lawmakers may have with President Trump. What do you think he needs to do when he addresses them on Thursday?
I think he needs to stop being a candidate and really make that transition to president. And that's been the one thing that people have been saying all along, pundits, commentators, politicians, lawmakers, all of them, because of the fact that he now is the president of the United States and needs to reach a more diversified audience than his base. And I think the concern all along was, could that transition happen? So I think he really needs to quell a lot of that fear and really channel the messaging that he brought forth all along, which is one of limited government and free markets and really returning power to the states. If he sticks to that messaging, things that he is strong on, I think he can win over some Republicans. If he goes back to campaign rhetoric, I think a lot of them will have a hard time trying to defend things that he says, even if it's just off script and he doesn't really mean it. It does send mixed messages, which they may not be able to get behind.
We'll be watching that closely. Joel, let me ask you, what legislative power do Democrats actually have to fight the Trump administration on the border wall and sanctuary city funding?
Well, Democrats obviously have limited legislative power, but I think what's been remarkable is, you mentioned sanctuary cities. Some of the mayors that came out today, Mayor Walsh in Boston, Mayor de Blasio in New York, Mayor Lee in San Francisco, have all been very firm in their belief that that was the wrong move and that they're not going to allow the president to bully them into diverting funds away from very important national security priorities, which is really what that's about. The president may do this for show because he needs to play base politics, but in reality, all that would do, all diverting those funds would do is really make those cities very vulnerable that depend on those funds for other key local priorities. So, I think that Obviously, there are limited things that Democrats can do. I think Leader Schumer's done a good job of setting the stage so far, but in reality, it's with regards to sanctuary cities, it's actually the cities themselves that have been very activist, saying they are not going to allow the president to push them around.
Ashley, here's what Texas Congressman William Hurd, a Republican, said about the border wall. Quote, "The facts have not changed. Building a wall is the most expensive and least effective way to secure the border." What's your response to that?
Look, Donald Trump is responding to the popular opinions. I think that this, hold on, let me say that this resonated with a majority of people. That is why he is president of the United States. Specifically on this issue, it was his strongest issue that he campaigned on. And I think at this point, what we're seeing is him really trying to deliver on that, which I have to give him credit for, because a lot of politicians do not deliver on campaign promises. So at this point, it really becomes the details and the nitty-gritty of it, which is, how is this paid for? How is this funded? I think now, White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer has said that this will come from funding within the government right now, and then it's open for discussion as to whether or not this will come from Mexico. So I think there are a lot of questions to it, but when it comes to making America safe again, which is one of his tenets of his platform, he's really enacting some measures here. So I think we will see, obviously, a lot of maybe disagreement with him, given the fact that this was a controversial campaign platform, but he is fulfilling something that was very popular and energized his base in the election.
All right. To be continued. Ashley Pratte and Joel Payne in Washington, thank you both for your time.
Thank you.